So, are the planets really just tracking across the sky as they always have done? Or are we witnessing in the January night skies at the moment, witnessing some 369 billion year event, an astronomical extravaganza in spiritual terms, hugely significant? Or is it really just about sort of astronomical facts? Or is it really just actually just the planets are just doing what they do? And why is this really all over the internet and the media and social media? As a human being, what holds more awe and wonder? This seemed like a good day to wear my cosmic jumper. So planetary alignment, planetary parade, whatever you want to call it, has created some excitement in the past couple of weeks. I've had friends sharing social media posts with me talking about 369 billion year event. And I thought, how old is the Earth? And how old is the universe? So the Earth, I think, is 4.5 and the universe is supposed to be 13.7 billion years old. So, wow, that's pretty significant, because if that number is correct, then of course, well, that's never happened before. 3, 6 and 9 straight away tweaked my interest. I was never the mathematician at school. I was in the bottom set, but numbers quite fascinated me, and I had a great maths teacher, Mrs. Millington, for my GCSE, and she used to get us doing maths investigations. I remember the 1 into 9 was brilliant. Anyway, that sort of a maths, that fascinated me. And it made me, 369, that made me think of the work of Tesla, the genius, not the car. 3, 6 and 9, he would do everything in multiples of 3. They were really significant numbers for him, and he actually said something along the lines of, if you don't, in fact, let's find the quote. So Nikola Tesla, and I quote, he said, "If only you knew the magnificence of the 3, 6 and 9, then you would have the key to the universe." It's funny, Tesla had a thing about pigeons. Now I've got pigeons outside my window. That tweaked my interest. Whenever that happens, that gets me wondering and asking questions, and then I go to the internet and I start looking around, and the first thing that came up was, well, of course, with all potentially exciting things these days that seem to be of any sort of passion or interest, there's always some party pooper that wants to piss on your fireworks, and this was no different. The articles were all using the headline, because of course everyone needs a headline these days. 360 billion years planet alignment debunked. So the first few that I read, Forbes magazine was one. Forbes was quoted by, regurgitated by Geo News. Actually, Forbes was quoting Sky and Telescope. Now I've written it down here so I get the right thing. Sky and Telescopes, Astronomy and Observing News, the Essential Guide to Astronomy. And also NASA has chipped in here. So, excuse me looking down and reading my notes. So Forbes kicks off with, planets are always aligned with each other as they are not racing all over the solar system as they orbit the sun. So he's written social media. I mean, the way this is thing, it's almost as if like social media is not to be trusted, but as you know, there's all kinds of people, professors and scholars and experts in their field, as well as sort of, you know, dimwits and half-wits and all sorts in between. It makes the mix of the world. So social media is flooded with posts saying 1 in 369 billion years. No, it's not. Let's get my numbers right. 396 billion years. Turns out social media is not that reliable, and people do not have to wait to see it. Of course they don't have to wait. That's why they're all talking about it. It's in the sky now. Anyway, he's explaining it's not something out of the ordinary, nor is it a weird phenomena. It is indeed a spectacular event, according to Forbes. And explaining why the term planetary parade is used, it says, or he says, mainly due to Jupiter remaining bright in the sky, while Venus and Mars will be at their brightest in the post-sunset sky for the next 2 years to the naked eye. It says it's not an alignment, just a parade. Well, yeah, there seems to be something, and I'm not sure it really matters whether you call it a parade or an alignment. I think this is the technical sort of trying to, but even NASA use both, or NASA's call it an alignment, I think. It says it, so this is the reason why this debunks the whole once in a 396 billion years planetary alignment happening on January the 25th. Now, again, there's some discrepancy on that as well, because today is the 22nd as I'm filming this, and 21st was yesterday, and there was lots to say that that's when it happened, that these 6 planets lined up. So anyway, actually it would turn out on most things that you can see it. I had 17th, 18th of January in mind as it's starting, and it is going to carry on through, I think, a little way into February. So, but maybe either the 21st or the 25th is going to be the day that it's as much in line. Anyway, the in line thing, that's debatable as well. So in terms of this 396 billion years, I noticed as I read through them, none of them have dared to proffer any sort of when this has happened before, how regularly sort of a cycle we are going to see this sort of astronomical event. Yeah, no one proffers any figures, and one of them said that something similar happened decades ago. Well, what do they mean by similar? And it's not very scientific, just sort of decades ago. So another question is, why debunk 396 anyway? Well, why is it important to do that? I'm not thinking where it's made me reflect more, as I am increasingly with a lot of things these days. Where do these stories come from anyway? Certain people suddenly they rise to fame, or a story or a meme or a thing like clapping for nurses out NHS. It's not even nurses, it was for the NHS outside your front doors. All these sorts of things. Where do they suddenly rise up? Well, 2 things. Where do they initially come from? Who is doing it? Sometimes when you find out who starts these things off, it's not quite who you thought, and then you know there's something, you can smell a rat. But how does it get spread so quickly? How is that happening? Because it has to be pushed in a certain way by a certain something to get out to the number of people before it starts multiplying. Or is there already something behind these things, these stories, driving them to spread? I don't know. All of this might not be on an awful lot of people's radar, but for those who it is. So the New India Express, they are using the NASA January bulletin as their source. They said it's rare, and NASA stated that such incidents involving 4 or more planets do not happen annually. Well, no shit, because I think if it did, we would be hearing all about it. So we're not saying 396, but we are saying not annually. Still vague. They go on to say that planets all appear along a line in the sky, so the alignment isn't special. So it's, I've learnt this, it follows the ecliptic, which is basically the line that the sun traces through the sky and then all the planets trace through. I think by my limited knowledge and remembering what I learnt at school, the whole point is that they're all in different size circles, so they're all going at, I don't know that they're all going round each circle at the same speed, but the circles are bigger, and they're not all going round in a sort of a, like a mixer blade goes round. They're all doing different stuff. So it says to me that they're not all just dragging around in this sort of a line. So it isn't special. But then it goes on to say what's less common is seeing 4 or 5 bright planets at once, which, it points out again, in case you painfully don't know what annually meant, doesn't happen every year. Got it. So it goes on. 396 billion years is a complete misunderstanding of a theoretical point made by, and excuse me, it's either Jean or we're talking French and it's Jean, and it's Mies, in his 1997 book, Mathematical Astronomy Morsels. Wow. Now, you've got to be pretty into it to have read that book. Now, who on earth has read? I've never even heard of that book. But anyway, they've gone right through it. And this is why it's ended up as a social media thing. So it says, in attempting to answer whether all planets, all eight planets, could be visible in Earth's sky, Mies came up with 396 billion, but crucially was referring to planets by 1.8 degrees of each other. That last quote is according to Sky and Telescope. It's Jamie Carter writing for Forbes, and he'd quoted the exact same paragraph as well. They're all using the same stuff. So yeah, so in terms of journalists, of course, it's easy for them if they see something going viral on social media and it's anything close to something that they have interest in or expertise in and could write about at all, then, you know, it's an easy story to get out there. And I think really what we're seeing here, I'd see when I'm looking at something like this, I'm always looking at a sort of a wider scope of it, is how I suppose I would describe it, to the thing of what's really going on. And the whole media and journalist thing and the stories going, but is one thing, but and how that all comes to be, but is that this is just another one of those polar opposites and another one of those sort of not ego wars, that sounds awful, but living in ego, I suppose. You've got some that just seem to be like pouring out light into the world generally, and you know, I read my friend's post that she sent me. This will give you an idea of the ever the professional. So here's the photo that my friend sent me. And this is what it said. The planetary parade in January 2025, which involves 6 planets, soon to be 7 planets aligning, the moon's coming in at some point, carries significant spiritual symbolism for many, including, number 1, energetic shifts. The alignment represents a collective shift in energy. Each planet holds unique symbolic meaning. Mars, action and courage. Jupiter, expansion and growth. Venus, love and harmony and relationships. Saturn, discipline and lessons. Uranus, innovation and change. Neptune, intuition and dreams. When these energies align, it can create a heightened sense of awareness and an invitation to balance these themes in our lives. Number 2, a time for manifestation. Planetary alignments are often seen as portals for spiritual growth and manifestation. Set intentions, release what no longer serves us, making space for abundance and transformation. Number 3, collective consciousness. The alignment is thought to amplify collective energy, fostering a sense of interconnectedness. This is an opportunity to engage in global healing practices such as meditation, prayer, or group rituals. On that note, Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time, people are always joining in for meditation. I don't know the numbers now, but you know, if that's something that you want to get involved in, 7 p.m. Sunday UK time. Number 4, challenges and growth. Alignments can also bring to light unresolved issues or blockages. This energy may challenge us to comfort our fears. No, not comfort them. Confront our fears, heal old wounds, and move towards personal and spiritual growth. Number 5, heightened intuition. It's quite a list, isn't it? Heightened intuition and spiritual connection. The alignment involving Neptune may open doors to heightened intuition, vivid dreams, and spiritual downloads. It's an ideal time for introspection, meditation, and connecting with higher guidance. Number 6, astrological influence. Depending on your zodiac sign and personal astrological chart, the alignment's effects could feel more personal. This might manifest as emotional breakthroughs, clarity on life's purpose, or shifts in relationships. How to navigate this energy: meditation and reflection, set intentions, embrace the unknown, engage in rituals like journaling, full moon ceremonies to align you with the planetary energies, and energy cleansing. Meditate and heal, raising your vibration and clear your field. Now, I can't credit anyone for this other than my lovely friend Rebecca. I don't know whether she writes these posts for lots of people. I know she's a special lady and she's connected with all sorts of people. She tends to run, well, she trains celebrants amongst other things. She's so yeah, I'm sorry if this is I should be crediting anybody else, and thank you, Rebecca. Hope you don't mind me sharing this. I know you don't. I know you won't. You like getting it out there. You're a good soul. Interesting how more and more people seem to be coming into this realm of this area of questioning and watching all sorts of what you would say is, I suppose, spiritual based, or in some ways new age. I can't abide that term, but anyway, I don't know why I've got no resistance to that term. And hippie, anyway. Yeah, so the 369 billion year thing, that's actually referring to this, you know, tiny thing of 1.8 degrees, and also it's the fact that he was trying to attempt to answer a question about 8 planets, not 6. And I'm not sure how he calculated, but what I did think was interesting, that it was 3, 9 and 6 that he came up with, and also the fact that it's 1.8 degrees, 1 and 8 making 9. So is it just that you know, this has gone viral on social media, and so some journalists have, you know, jumped in because it's an easy thing to write about because it's already all been talked about, and therefore people are searching about it as news spreads. And you know, I guess maybe they're very fact-based people, and living in the, I mean, I'm making great generalization or assumptions here, but you know, maybe material people, and I know more than you. No, I know the facts. No, I know the facts. No, I'm the expert. Oh. So yes, I could say these are experts, so they're there to be listened to, but I do think there is strongly an element of us being cosmic beings. And so maybe have they just lost the awe and the wonder of it all? I mean, by crikey, one thing I did think, now years ago, there was a fantastic man called Patrick Moore, and he was an astronomer, and he used to do Sky at Night, and it was on the telly. It was in BBC One or BBC Two, and so many people used to tune in. They haven't got telescopes, they don't probably get out and look at the stars much, but partly because he was just so great, partly I think because there's just a fascination, isn't there? You just look out there and you're just like, wow, that's big. And when you go to a place like, I've been in Australia out working on farms, and blimey, I remember the first night being out there and being actually quite overwhelmed by like how many, wow, there really are a lot of stars. I mean, wow. Anyone that's experienced that, it's wow. So many people are talking about it in this relative field of what a lot of people just lump into spirituality. I mean, anyway, we're not going to get too much into terms. From my point of view, in me taking a wider view, what I'm seeing is it's this, we're in this, seems to be in this fast flux of time of change, and also this thing of the polar opposites, and this is just like another polar opposite banging up against each other again. But instead of that, like it's religion and science butting up, it's more sort of spiritual, some want to call it new age, spiritual interests butting up against people that are, a bit more sciencey and a bit more sort of, oh no, it's just, it's just what's going on at the minute. And I think also this whole thing of this just like plethora, this massive amount of information and chit chat and videos and shorts and all the rest of it about anything like this, and there's always these butting ups because you're going to get it. People have different opinions and understandings and knowledge, and what I think is fascinating, and what I think is really, I'm going to do a video on this, because it's just a topic in itself. But discernment, to be able to like take, and I like to look all around. I think it's necessary to look all around a subject. And some people, they might really like grate me. I tend to read books that I hear about and I select, and you know, some are hard going, some are not. But with the video, sometimes, you know, you can be switched off completely by a particular character or a conversation, but I try and plow through, because for some reason I've ended up watching it, and also because it's, you might not agree or it makes you feel uncomfortable, whatever, but it's just seeing another perspective. So I try and push through with that. So much has been written about it, and you've got to pick your way through it. And so I spend partly a lot of time looking at different perspectives, but also just sitting with things. And when I come up again, because so we've all got our worldview and our beliefs, and then something, you watch something and you think you believe this, and then it leads on to like, oh, this thing that I've just watched, that sounds plausible. That sounds, oh, okay. And it can shake what I think I believe and what I think I know. So then I sit back for a little while and I have to contemplate that thing, and again start working around looking at that from different angles, until I come to a settled point again where I have a newer, extended understanding of what I thought before, or actually I've gone in a slightly different direction with that through the new knowledge that I've gained. And so yeah, it's kind of like this wading up and down, kind of like a needle going through you know, those little tapestry, Ada I think it's called, the little square stuff with the holes in. It's kind of like that, looping through a piece of fabric. Anyway, it can be such a plethora of information, and sometimes with discernment you switch off to something immediately. You know it's wrong, it's just you're not even going to explore it. There'll be other things that maybe it's not your cup of tea, you don't think it's your cup of tea, but just from the perspective of looking at other perspectives, maybe you'll go into it a little bit and just see where that leads you. There'll be other things that really resonate with you. Question why that is. Don't just sort of, oh yeah, this is all the stuff that I like, that feels comfortable. Why does it feel more comfortable than this over here? And how are these ideas or these concepts or this, whatever this new bit of information that you've got that is unsettling you in your current beliefs? Yeah, it's not a thing to be rushed. It's just you know, it's an ongoing, constant process. And I just, yeah, try and take that broader view. So bringing it back to this planetary alignment thing, I think that us as cosmic beings, you read horoscopes in the magazines, and you don't believe in that, do you? But everyone loves them. And I question, why are they still in the magazines then? Everyone must be reading it. Again, this whole thing, people say, well, when were you really born? You know, was it when you were conceived? Is it when you're growing and you're becoming conscious in the womb? Is it, or is it literally, you know, I just think first breath, woof, you're in this world, you're in some sort of, I don't know whether it's suspended animation. I'm not saying there's not a spirit or a soul in there, but I'm saying it's in some sort of a different realm or different state, potentially, is what I think. They take your time of birth and your date, and they now, you know, they've got computer. Poor old Pam Gregory, she's, you know, happy days now. She's got a computer program. She trained old school way, where she had to calculate everything with the charts and some table or something, I think, and no calculators, had to do it all with pen and paper and the old noggin, and it produces your birth chart. Now you cannot get away from the fact, because this is a science, like a thing, that is where those stars and those planets were against the earth and the sun and the moon and everything else floating around. That's a fixed point. And I don't know entirely how it works, but by crikey, what I do know is that, cool blimey, is really spot on. So this connection for us with the cosmos, not even getting into where we've come from and where we're going afterwards, but just the physical being here on this physical earth and out there, because the spacemen and NASA and people tell us, and telescopes tell us, there's planets and they know how they all move around, and that's all amazing. But because of this link with astrology, that linking us to the cosmos very much so, what is this planetary alignment, what is the effect that it's having on us, or what effect can we have on it or through this thing happening, stuff that we do now? So like my friend's message said about, you know, manifesting and journaling and moon ceremonies and all the rest of it. What a wonderful thing it is that maybe families and couples and people are stepping outside their door on a chilly January night. Maybe they've been hopping out each night to see whether the clouds have cleared. It was cloudy last night, but a few nights ago, I think it was must have been around 17th, 18th, I was already looking, and you could see this, I could start seeing this path through the sky, and of course they're supposed to be getting closer. So I think that's a wonderful. I remember when my dad and I was young, we lived right out in a rural area, and we had to go outside for logs in the barn opposite. And I remember me and my dad stood in the lane and him showing me Orion. And I don't know, there's something about me and Orion, and I don't know if it's just from that childhood memory or what. But yeah, that's to think of, like, families and people and couples are going out on these chilly nights to go and to try and look at this phenomena in the sky. That's a nice positive thing in itself. I think that's wonderful. And I suppose going out there either individually or together, to realise that you're part of all of that, I think it can remind us of our place in the vastness of it all. And also, I think, actually, the great mystery of it all. The fact that, okay, we've got really clever scientists and it's all amazing and we can do wonderfully technological things, but just that we don't know it all. And there is a great mystery to things, and more scientists and physicists especially are acknowledging this, that, yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's not all necessarily explainable. And the more they try to explain it, it's like the when you're trying to dig sand out of dig a hole in the beach, and it gets to a point where more sand is just falling in each time you're taking a thing out. I think it's a bit like that, without having any sort of scientific or astronomical astronomy experience behind me. What I do think is, if you're a person, a human being, and you're stood out on a hill, I'm imagining like this perfect sort of the grassy knoll, and you're stood out there and there's your silhouette of you, looking up at the sky, and you're seeing these bright planets, and you're seeing 4 of them, and you're knowing, because you've, you know, read up on it, that there are 2 more up there that if you went and got your binoculars or you had a telescope, you'd, at the right time through the night, morning, whatever, you'd be able to see those. But just to stand there and see that, it's not about this 1.8 degrees of closeness or in line. It's not about, I mean, it's not happening anyway. These amazing pictures like the one I showed you, I mean, they look fantastic, but that's not really what's happening, that they're all in a line. It's in a line as you are a human being stood on your grassy hill or in your back garden or out in your lane or whatever, and you're just taking in those stars, and they're, well, they look like stars, don't they? Planets. Mars is definitely a different coloured one, and you're just taking in all of that in the awe and wonder in which it should be taken in, and the awe and wonder that I hope you feel in your daily life of being this teeny tiny person on this teeny tiny planet in this massive vast universe. It's all amazing. So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you've been, let's see, I'm not sponsored by Yogi Tea, but I do love their classic chai, and they give you these little thought for a day on the labels. I imagine like there's some chap or some girl, and they're sat in this tiny room with a computer, and they're just trying to like, have you come up with 1,000 sayings yet? No, well, get back in the cupboard. Balance of head and heart yields strength of character. Balance of head and heart yields strength of character. So there you go. There's another thing to go away and ponder on. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Haha, you've made it all the way to the end, so yeah, you must like it. Please like it. Hit the old bing at the bottom, and yeah, do please subscribe. I'm a growing channel, and apparently this is how it works, so you know, everyone's got to be lovely and join in and join the Ring of Roses. Oh, the pigeons are back. I feel just like Tester. Slightly less intelligence. And if you do fancy using your tray of letters to tippy-tappy any comments, you know, we can have a bit of a conflab. And do ask any questions, not necessarily relating to this, but you know, like the big questions in your life. What are the things that you're struggling with or trying to find meaning through? And maybe I can have a little, you know, for what it's worth, give you my 2 pennies worth on that. I've done, there's this Medjugorje pilgrimage series already up, and I'm starting now as well on rosary prayer videos, starting off with a very traditional one and then going on through to where I'm at with praying the rosary now, which is in many ways quite different to the traditional. In some ways the same and some ways different, and that's gone on a bit of a progression, and each one will have a companion video, so you can almost pretty much get straight into praying the rosary on the prayer one, and then there's a bit of a, you know, explanation or I don't know, whatever, commentary as it were on whichever prayer video it is, so have a look out for those. I'm going to be quiet because I'm starting to go blah, 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 blah. And yeah, thanks you guys. Peace be with you.